Hey guys, it's Matthew Greenwood and our Fireside chat. We're here tonight and we're going to be talking about spirit guides. But first up, just letting you know that we're live on My Time and Matthew Greenwood Spiritual Journeys, and a few hellos to start with. Hi, Monet and Cindy. We've got Kylie and Trina. Hey, Trina. And got to learn how to pronounce that. Maurari. Sorry, I probably did that all wrong. And Fiona, Jasmine. Oh, everyone's coming in. Robin, Latika, Alison, Kathy, Emma, Joanne, Gail, and Christina and Kelly. Wow, everyone's joining us. Cool. All right, so please tonight, if you know anyone that would be interested in the subject tonight, which is all about spirit guides, it would be great if you could let them know to get involved. Hey, Mary, Nicole, and Myra. Hey, guys. And hi, Sarah. So, yeah, please join us and get everyone you know interested in coming along, because the subject is a really good one for anyone that's on a spiritual path. Guides are generally a part of that journey, whether they know it or not, whether not the guides, but whether the people know it or not, their guides are there helping them and supporting them through that journey. But we'll get into that in a minute. So please, with all your comments, remember that you automatically go into a draw for a spirit guide reading, and we've got the winner for tonight's is Karen Parsons. Hey, Karen, we're going to let you know that you've won that, and we'll arrange a time. If you can contact me, we'll arrange a time where we can get an appointment happening. All right, guys, so anything else to say on that? I think we're all good. I'm sure Adair would have me saying something else that I've forgotten, but there we go. So please come on board tonight. Anyone that would like to hear about spirit guides. Hey, Michelle and Carol, Karen and Sharon, Fiona, Gay, everyone's here. Cool. Big subject tonight. So first, as always, we're going to be doing a grounding exercise. So that grounding exercise that I've shown most of you, but for those that don't, let's go through it again. Oh, thanks. I've just got a pronunciation for that name I couldn't get. So it's Marie, I'm hoping. Thanks for that. Okay, so if you would like to, just relax to start with and close your eyes and just take some nice, deep, full, long breaths in and out, knowing that each breath you take in is not just about oxygen, it's about life force, this seemingly invisible part of what's needed in our life that a lot of people just don't even think about. So we need life force to survive. It feeds our whole energy system and the physical body. So breathing that life force in, just imagine or visualize that that's what you're doing. It will actually help it to happen. So as you do that, then with the breath out, just knowing that that breath out is allowing that life force to permeate through your auric field, through your energy system. You most likely will start to, as you do this more and more, you'll most likely start to feel, best way to explain it is like an effervescence or a feeling of tingling. That's nice, clean energy. Okay, so with the next breath in, taking a big one, pulling that life force in with the breath out, pushing it down through your body, down through your base chakra, your legs, your feet, and then down into the earth. Just keep doing that same visualization until you feel tingling down through your feet or a warmth down through your feet. And once you start to feel that, then we're going to take it deeper. So remembering we have a multitude of chakras below our base chakra and the chakras in the soles of the feet. Our energy system goes right down to the core of the earth. Now, the deepest chakra point we have is right down at the core of the earth. It's called our earth chakra. Surprise, surprise. And so what we're going to do next is connect with that. So taking a nice deep breath in again, pulling that life force in, and this time with the breath out, driving it right down to the core of the earth. Don't even concern yourself with the distance that is. Energy moves instantly when the mind's not getting in the way. And just continuing that visualization. Remember, breathing in life force with the breath out, just pushing it right down to the core of the earth. So if you can, just hold your space, and I just wanted to add something in about that earth chakra. So now, with everything that's been going on the planet and outside of the planet that's affecting us, there's so many changes happening everywhere. We talked about this last week, and or the week before. And what's needed now is to keep up with this. We need to keep regrounding our energy. Hi, Vanessa. So grounding is a very important part of that, regular grounding. This exercise only needs to take a few minutes. I'm talking under 5, 3 minutes or 2 minutes. Okay, so holding that space, relaxing your breath just for a little bit, letting that just run on automatic. So just know that you've got life force flowing down through your base chakra and also right down through to the core of the earth. All right, so we're going to change gear into a higher frequency aspect of your energy. If you can bring your awareness now to the center of your physical body. So, imagine you're looking at the physical body. What's the centralmost point that you can see? Generally, right in the middle of the abdomen. But imagine going into that central point within your physical body, and now knowing that you're far more than physical, imagine diving off that point and then just diving deep into your energy system, which is on a different dimensional plane than 3 dimensions. And just keep journeying deeper and deeper into your energy system until you see or feel or sense a high vibrational energy source. Hey, Paulette. Okay. So when you find that light or feel it or sense it, now imagine expanding that out. Imagine it rushing out from that central point within your energy system, rushing up into the 3-dimensional space of your physical body, and then filling your physical body with light. Imagining every cell in your body being connected to that light, and each little cell vibrating at a high frequency. So now that you've got that, allowing that to expand out beyond your physical now into an area of roughly 3 to 4 meters out, which consists of not just your 7 energy bodies, but right through to 9 energy bodies, which is connecting you also with your galactic roots. And just keep filling that space, expanding that light out to fill that area 3 to 4 meters out in all directions around you. And as that builds up in strength with that light, hey Judy, what I want you to do at the count of 3 is let it explode out in all directions. 1, 2, 3. Let it go. Just keep expanding that out. No limitations, no boundaries. This is who you are. This is what you're connecting with, this very expansive you. So as you're tapping into that, what you're doing is raising your vibration, raising your frequency, which when you do this on a regular basis, it actually keeps anything of a low vibrational energy away from you, including people. The whole idea of that is so that you don't attract people to you that are going to want to take your energy. So you can keep your energy at a much higher frequency and you'll feel much more stable with that grounding exercise as well. So just keep that expanded out. And knowing that you do not have to pull this in. You don't have to reduce that high vibrational energy. You can leave it out there. That's the whole idea of it. And now just bringing your awareness back to where you're sitting, in your house, your room, your space. Hey, Petra. And then bringing your awareness back to your breathing. So breathing that life force in, pulling it down through your body, your base chakra, legs, feet, and back into the earth. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So, hope you felt great with that. So this exercise, when done regularly, not just once, but when done regularly, a couple of times a day, this is what's needed now to keep our energy stable with all of the changes that are going on the planet, all of the stuff that's being thrown at us. We need to be doing that. And if you can commit to 3 weeks of giving this a go, you'll notice a change in the way you feel through a day. I guarantee it. But you have to commit for at least 3 weeks, because in that 3 weeks, that's how long it takes to create a new habit. And this is what this needs to be, a new habit. So I look forward to hearing any feedback from you guys as to how that goes for you. So see this as a bit of a challenge to keep doing this for 3 weeks, morning and evening, but also if you're dealing with people as a counselor or you work with people, then it's important to be doing it on a regular basis through the day if you feel affected by anything. Hey, Janelle, Joanne, and Joanne saying, I see the universe, so awesome. That's great. And now where are we? So Dare's saying, hey, folks, tap the arrow and select share to your story. And this is what will help you connect with uh, the Facebook site and everything you can get from that Facebook site, my Facebook site, which means you'll connect with me more, and it's much easier. You'll be part of the opportunity to get a free spirit guide reading too. Josephine, how are you? And Sarah Armstrong. Hey, Sarah. All right. Cool. Here we go. So what I will do is have a break in the middle somewhere just to tell you a bit about workshops. Hey, Kylie Jane Watts. Haven't seen that name before. Good to see you. All right, spirit guides. Such a big subject. So let's try and start a little bit from the beginning. What I've done, what I did 32 years ago, I changed the way I was living. And I began to open up spiritually. And really, from only a couple of months of making that choice, I was kind of pushed, really, by one of my guides. Now, you got to understand that back then I was a furniture maker. I had my own business. And what I was doing was emotionally, I was very disconnected, and I had a lot of stuff to work through. Hey, Lizzie. And then I hear this voice while I'm carving away at a table leg, and this voice said to me, Matthew, there's more to you and there's more to life. You need to find it. And I got to say, it's like it triggered something in me. It's like a switch was turned on. And, there wasn't a lot I was sure of back then, but what I was sure of was that I wasn't going to let anyone turn that switch off. So that switch was about me opening up to something much bigger, which I didn't really understand what that was at the time. But I started to remember things that would come up in my thoughts just after hearing that voice. And it was a very clear voice too. It wasn't just in my head, just like my inner voice. It was definitely a separate voice that was about 2 feet to my right. And it may as well have been a person standing there, because that's where it was coming from. And so I didn't know who this was or what it was, but it, like I said, it triggered something in me. And so what happened, I started thinking about back through my life at many experiences I'd had where I seemed to escape really bad things happening, from car accidents to motorbike accidents, which I used to race off-road. And we'd be like 3-4 days in a forest racing against other bikes. So, there'd be trees, rocks, creeks, drop-offs, all kinds of things. And there were so many times that I shouldn't have survived. And something seemed to make the bike move all by itself. And it was an amazing experience to kind of rethink about all those things. And it was triggered by this voice that I heard. So anyway, not having had what I would have classified as a spiritual experience back then, I didn't have spiritual people around me, or I didn't think I did. But then I asked someone, a friend, about did they know, any clairvoyants that were any good. And so I went and saw one, and he just said to me too many things that I couldn't deny. Amazing things that he said that he just pulled out of thin air. And so this is something that really spurred me on to learn more. And the next stage I went to was meditation. So this is all in a couple of weeks of hearing that voice. And so when I started meditation, I started seeing things pretty much on the first night I started meditating. And I went along to this meditation group at least a couple of times a week. And after about 2 months of seeing what I thought was shadows moving around, I'd open my eyes and there was no one physical in the room, but I could see these shadows moving around. And so what happened after about 2 months, I went into the meditation, experiencing what I'd always experienced, which was seeing these shadows. And then the TV screen came on in my head, and which I'd never had before. And so what I saw on my TV screen was a Native American, and he talked to me for a long time in that meditation. And what happened then was he gave me all these insights into what I was going to be doing in the future, which I couldn't understand how that could happen. But hey, here I am, and so it's been an incredible journey through this process over the last 32 years since I have been working spiritually. So look, I've just got a couple of things that people have sent in. So, hey, Mary, yes, my mantis is very good with his pincers. If I don't pay attention to my messages or avoid what is being brought to my attention, so yeah, like I understand what mantis beings are. Mantis beings they're actually a galactic being. So they work similarly to guides, but there's a distinct difference. Galactic beings are physical, breathing, alive beings that can slip in and out of dimensional space and connect with us. Guides are a different thing. So let's talk about what actually guides are and where they come from. So guides are, actually, let's take it a step back. For us to be here, we're connected to our soul, and our soul is connected to what people to believe the word most people use is God or Great Spirit, Creator. So for God to evolve, there needs to be separation. Only through separation does experience happen. And so God separates into souls, and this is what my guides told me. This is how my guides explained this to me. This is how it works out there. So God separates into souls. Souls separate into life experiences, which we are one of, but our soul has had many life experiences. And so what we classify as past life experiences are actually the same as how we refer to as guides, because guides are other life experiences that our soul has had, and we're connected to that. So sometimes we are connected to some of these other soul life experiences, and so through that we experience other aspects of the soul. But what guides are obviously other aspects of the soul that have actually come back regrouped with us, because the knowledge that they learnt, that they took in that life or a life, is the reason certain guides have been attracted to us to work with us, is because the knowledge that they have, the wisdom that they have, is exactly what we need in this life to evolve as a human, as a spiritual being having a human experience on this planet. So if anyone's unsure about that, please send in a question, but it's just changing your view on the way you look at past life experiences. It's actually, it's a little bit deeper than just I've had a past life as a Native American or as a knight in shining armor or whatever it is. You actually have had experiences, or your soul has had experiences as many things. Those are just two. So guides are aspects of you. So they're not just random spirits that fall in line with a number and are waiting to work with you, going, oh my God, I've got to work with that person. They're actually beings that are connected to you through your soul, that are here to help you on your journey. And so with that, we attract whatever guides, like I said, that have knowledge to help us to evolve to our fullest form. And our potential is what is very important for us to meet here, to actually be everything we possibly can here in this life, because it's such a spiritually opening life at the moment. So I've got Christine Cooper. So how does that work if Archangel Michael is my guide? Well, angels are a slightly different story. Angels will be with you for periods of time, sometimes for whatever you're going through, but they are generally not guides. They can be, let's say, part-time guides for whatever reason they're there for, but they're not permanent. Whereas your guides, and this is where we go a little bit deeper, your guides are there as an opportunity to actually embody their teachings. So I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. So when I first started working spiritually, like I said right early in the beginning, I started working with guides. I started seeing them, and about 4 to 5 years in, I had a Native American guide, a medicine man, come in, and his name was Dancing Feather. Now, he was working with me for about 13 to 14 years. And what would happen, he would be, and I haven't had an experience since like this. I know my guides are there and I communicate with them, but he was there very consciously. So I'd be doing woodwork or I'd be doing spiritual work, and he would be there teaching me things. So I might be at a workbench with some other guys working for me, and he'd say, "Okay, what do you see in his aura that you don't see in the other person's aura?" And so we'd kind of go over this in my head, and I'm having communication with him, and then he'd say, "Well, in the break, go over and just say hello to him," because he was fairly quiet, this particular guy. And all I did was say hello, and everything I saw in his aura that stood out, he just started talking about. And he'd never said anything about that stuff to me before. So it's really interesting how, when a guide works very consciously with you, it's amazing if you take those teachings on, it's amazing how quickly you grow. So this was huge for me. I wasn't in any fear of it. I had no expectations. It was just happening, and so what happened with this, as I took more and more information on, I was growing very quickly. My abilities were opening up really quick, and then what happened at about that 13 to 14 year stage. And he taught me so much. That's a long period of time for a guide to be pretty much there 24/7, and working with me very consciously. So, his voice was there very clear in my head. And so what happened at this 13, 14 year point, I stopped hearing him, I stopped seeing him. And I thought, what's going on? This is really unusual. And so I was really nervous to start with, because I just wasn't getting any feedback from him. And then after about 2 weeks, I had a new guide came in, and he had a chat to me, and he said, he hasn't gone anywhere. He's inside you. You've actually embodied his energy, because he's taught you everything that he could possibly teach you. Now, this opens us up to a whole new level of understanding guides, because those guides are there to do just that. It's just that a lot of us don't know how to actually achieve that level of connection with guides, and I'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. So then I realized something, that by doing that, by actually being very self-driven and taking on the teachings of your guides, if that's what you're meant to be doing in this life, then what happens is you take on and embody the energy of that guide. And what occurs from that is you become more connected to source, because you've got another embodied aspect of the soul within you. And this is how you really grow spiritually, I've got to say. So I've got a few questions here, and I'm just going to quickly run through them. Do our guides change, or we have the same guides with us all the time? No. Well, actually, I think what I said just explained that one. So, yes, some guides will leave when they've helped you with everything they can help you with. And then what happens, if that happens to you, then you've obviously done some growing. You've been taking these teachings on, and if you've been doing that growing, then your life must have been getting better. What happens then is you will attract a new guide, a new teacher, that will come in and guide you through the next aspect of the journey, the next chapter. But they will be of a much higher frequency. So what happens when that's going on? Generally, you feel a bit rattled when a new guide's coming in. Now, that new guide hasn't even stepped into your space and is working with you consciously. They're just on the outskirts coming in. So if you imagine, here's you vibrationally, here's you at a certain frequency. Your guides are varying degree of frequency around you. But then here's a new guide coming in way up here somewhere, and he or she is not even close yet. And you're already feeling a ripple of that new guide's energy, because they will be of a higher frequency. And so what happens then is you feel a bit ungrounded and rattled. But when you are feeling that, and it's not because of anything else, it'll be because of a new guide coming in. That's when it gets exciting, because you start to realize that you become more expansive, and you really start to grow spiritually, like I said. So I've got Carol here, and she's saying, so are my guides my own past life experiences? Yes, you got it. Can they be other soul life experiences? Can my past life experiences be helping other souls? They have to be part of the same soul group, I've been told. So let's look at that one. So here you are on this earth plane. You have a number of guides with you, but there can be other aspects of the soul that are in physical form on the earth plane. So you could have 200-300 other physical people walking around on the planet, and they can be all connected to the same soul. It's like when you meet someone for the first time, and there's just this instant sort of connection, instant openness to that person, an instant at ease with that person. Generally, they're part of your soul group. And sometimes we get that a little confused with, oh, they're my life partner, but it's not always that case. So quite often they are just other aspects of your soul, and there's a familiarity on an energetic level. And so it's important to remember that your guides can be your guides, other past life experiences that your soul has had, other life experiences that your soul has had, can be helping those other 200 or 300 people, or one of them, one or two or three of them. Because you imagine how many life experiences our soul has had. When you could have that many the soul could have that many life experiences in one time zone. Begins to get very expansive when you start looking at this. Great question, Carol. Thanks. Myra saying, yes, I believe so. I have a connection to many races. Yeah, me too. and it's almost necessary these days, because one of the things we have to start breaking down is judgment of other races, and know that we're all living, breathing beings. We have red blood running through our veins. Um, we eat. We need to eat. We need to drink water. We need to live, to survive, and all of this judgmental and bigoted ways of thinking are so archaic and are so um, necessary to let go of, because that's what's holding us back. Well, it's one of the many things that's holding humanity back, is judgment. Um, okay, so another question. I'm the same as Myra. I connect to many races and star families. Yeah, that's great. I see star beings more than I see my other races. And that just may be where you're at the moment, because they all look. One of the important things to remember is that we need to be connected to the earth. And sometimes if you get too connected, and look, I'm right with you there, because I connect to galactic beings very strongly, but I need to be pulled back every now and then to remember that I have an earth connection too, because without that earth connection, the connection to galactic beings can get lost and can get very fluffy. And it's really important to remember that there's a big aspect of you that's still human. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So you got to remember that that part of your energy system needs to be connected to the earth for you to actually reach your potential. Um, da, 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 da. And I understand, because I lately I've been seeing galactic beings more than I've been seeing guides. I know my guides are there and I work with them, but when people come to see me, galactic beings stand out very strongly. So when I do a spirit guide reading, generally goes for an hour, then I'll have guides showing themselves, the ones that need to talk at that particular time. But generally, every time someone comes to see me, there's always at least one or two galactic beings there that have a lot of information to give, particularly at the moment, because of the fact we're going through so many changes energetically, which is helping us to reach out to galactic beings. But there's a lot of people that don't fully understand that stuff yet, and so grounding is still very important, even though we're connecting with galactic beings. So Fiona, do our guides take a step back so we can work stuff ourselves? Oh, most definitely. Look, guides are just that. The word, the name says it all. They don't force us to do anything. And if you've got some being inside you saying you have to do this, they're not a guide. Or they're doing something detrimental to you, they're not guides. They're tricksters. They're entities. And don't trust them. Don't allow yourself to get drawn into that, because guides just do not do that sort of stuff. The whole reason for a guide being there is to help you to reach your potential. So, yes, guides do step back at times. They'll give you guidance or give you a little push or a nudge in the right direction, but then they'll let you sort of take the reins and just see where you're going to take that. It's all about free will and choice. So that's what I mean. If you're not being allowed free will and they're telling you to do stuff that you don't want to do, then there's something wrong. They're not guides. But Anne Doyle, I have no idea how to hear my guides. Great question. So this is where we start. We need to look at our energy system. So, I've been on the spiritual path for 32 solid years. And, I was working when the New Age was at its peak here in Adelaide. And I look in most places around the world. Crystal shops were everywhere back then. And a lot of people were getting into back then, in particular, a lot of people were getting into spirituality to escape human reality, and to escape into spirituality because of things that had happened through their life. A lot of it was abusive stuff, and so they disconnect from their past, which you can't do if there isn't peace there. You can try to, but it catches up with you every time. And so their spiritual path would always go through a rocky times when they try to escape reality. So, and that relates to a minimized base chakra. So the thing that actually gets in the way of hearing guides, of seeing guides, of seeing energy, seeing auras, just seeing energy around the earth, around trees, animals, birds, insects, and everything has an aura. Even a car has an aura because a person fabricated that, and it's still an energy. And so what happens is, the more baggage that you carry with you, not in that car, but the more emotional baggage that you carry with you, that is the stuff that gets in the way of us being able to achieve those things like hearing and seeing guides and seeing energy. Because when you understand energy, in an aura, there is complete flow. Everything should be, in an ideal world, in an ideal aura, everything should be flowing. There's always a movement of energy. Chakras are drawing in life force, and it's coming out the back of the chakra. It's filtering through every part of your energy system. The problem is we're not all like that. Their emotional baggage relates to blocked energy within the auric field and the chakra system. And so when there's blocked energy, just like when a pool of water doesn't have any flow into it and there's no movement of water into it, it gets toxic. And so when that energy gets toxic, then it becomes very still, and it blocks other aspects of the energy field. Now, this is the stuff that gets in the way. And you can, look, I know people have spent a lot of money on buying the right crystals so that you can hear your guides or see your guides. And look, I love crystals, but they're not the quick fix. They're only a band-aid, and that band-aid doesn't work all that successful anyway. You know, if we came into this, I wish we'd been given a book. You know, it took me a few years to work this one out. I wish we'd been given a book with the rules on how to open up spiritually successfully, because a lot of the information we get out there isn't all factual. One of the major things we need to be doing, if all we did when we were sort of in our teens, if all we did was to clear our emotional baggage through those teens and in the early 20s, by the time you got to 30, you'd be seeing auras and chakras and spirits and guides and extraterrestrial beings and craft that are flying around through the air right now on the planet, their energy's masked. You can still see their energy when you've got the ability to. We'd be all able to see that. The problem is we're not all able to see that because of the fact that we have energy blocking that. So you can buy all the crystals under the sun, but eventually you have to come back to clearing your baggage. Not just clearing your baggage, but eating healthy. So looking after yourself emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Meditation. You know, if you're a stressed out little dude or dudette, it's going to be really difficult for you to see auras and energy and guides and everything, because you need to be able to find stillness inside. And if you don't have stillness, then you're not going to be able to hear or see those things. Hey, Karen. Oh, Karen Parsons. You won that spirit guide reading. Good to see you're on board. So I hope that answered that one, Anne. So Christina Cooper, message I have is that you are mostly correct, but it's not the same for everyone. Well, look, I'd love to hear from someone that has a lot of baggage and is consistently being able to see auras and see guides and hear them. I would love to know if that is possible, because then we wouldn't have to all worry about looking at our baggage, which unfortunately, from my experience over the last 32 years, it just doesn't do it. It's not enough. And again, it depends on how much you want to grow too. You know, sometimes we put a cap on ourselves as to how far we want to grow. You know, for me, I made a choice right at the beginning of this to make this work to its potential, you know, to get the most out of what I do as I did it with furniture making. I wanted to get the best out of what I was capable of, and I'm doing the same thing with this. So maybe because I'm a bit more self-driven that it's been clearer for me, but I've been self-driven most of my life. So I can only say from my experience and in helping others, because I do a lot of mentoring with spiritual people, including practitioners. And I know this stuff works because it helps them. So I can only go by the experiences I've had. And so another question. Hey, Matthew, how do you decipher a guide from a visitor? Yeah, good question. Or extraterrestrial. Pardon me. I'm in a very interesting place at the moment, which I have been drawn to and had a visiting here for the last 2 nights. So, all right. The one thing is you can ask, and generally don't always, this is another thing, don't expect to get words all the time. So one thing I'm very conscious of is that communication doesn't always come the way you expect it to. A lot of the time, communication comes through vision, a story, and so they'll show you things or a feeling, and this is why one of our, you could say, our failings or our weaknesses is trusting our feelings, because that can have been pounded out of us when we were very young. I think a lot of sensitive people have had that experience when they were kids, and so when you don't trust your feelings, you tend to minimize some of the things you get, and what that does is it doesn't allow you to open and stretch that ability to trust and to ask more questions. So it's really important to learn to trust your feelings, and particularly around energy, because guides have a particular vibration because they're of your soul. So they have a very similar vibration to yourself. Whereas extraterrestrial beings, galactic beings, have a rather different energy. There can be a familiarity with it, but generally it's a much higher frequency, and the good ones anyway. And so sometimes it's just about asking and trusting the answer you get. And look, we are getting visited a lot by galactic beings. We have been probably for about the last at least 14 years. There's been a lot more galactic input coming through, and it's just important to remember that is there far more than it's ever been before, because of the fact our energy is expanding out much further than it ever has, and this higher frequency that's been coming in for at least the last 14 years is raising our consciousness, but it's also activating DNA that's waking up inside us, that it relates to our extraterrestrial beginnings, our galactic beginnings, going right back in time to the beginning of humanity. Samira's saying, I work more with guides than galactic. And yeah, that's very much can be. It depends what your journey is this time round. In the early days, it was all guides. I had a couple of galactic beings come in the early days, And I actually didn't. I kind of made a choice because I saw a lot of ungrounded people back in those days. Um, I didn't want to get lost in the galactic stuff. I actually made a choice, sorry, to disconnect from galactic beings back in the early days. But they ended up coming through thick and fast about 18 to 20 years ago, and so I guess I was at a better place to actually work with them, and it seems to be a fairly constant thing now. We're going to actually have a galactic um, night next Wednesday night, so people may want to listen into that one. So there is a lot of entities sneaking in now, and sneaking is probably for certain beings. Yeah, they do sneak around. But what I found is there are far more positive beings coming in now than negative ones. There are still negative ones. There always will be, but they're getting less and less as our frequency raises in our environment and in this part of the universe, and within us too. The negative ones, look, whether it's a negative entity, galactic being, spirit, uh, uh, negative energy in a house, or from anyone in the general public when you're walking around in a shopping centre, the main reason that that being or that energy can actually have an effect on you is if you're not grounded. If you're really strongly rooted into the earth, no being can affect you. And that lack of grounding relates to Paul Bay chakra energy, which relates to suppressed memories and emotions, which relates to, guess what, emotional baggage. So just something to think about. So Anne, yes, thanks. I do see guides, lots of them, but they don't speak, they just smile at me. So possibly, and what I do for a lot of people, particularly practitioners, is I can do a little bit of mentoring with you if you wanted to hear them. Not saying you have to, but if you wanted to hear them, I can help you to open up so that you can hear them. Sometimes it's just about starting the whole process and you asking them questions. And then it's about you trusting what you get, the information you get, whatever way it comes. But I can help take you to a place where you can hear them. That's what I do with my work these days. Is I help people to open up, particularly practitioners, to open up more on a spiritual level, so that they can get the best out of themselves. Josephine, how do we clear baggage? I currently release anything that I feel is blocking me by writing it down and burning it. That can help. This takes us kind of into another area. So in the work I do, there's a process I take people through, which I help them to release baggage, but sometimes it's not all your energy that you need to release. One of the biggest aspects of what we carry within ourselves, and you can classify it as baggage, but sometimes it's not your baggage, it's actually other people's baggage. So when we're young, we're very much like sponges up until about puberty. And what happens is, if anyone's in our family, particularly parents, and they're not meaning to do this, but if they're going through rough patches, or they're just angry or upset or sad, all of that, or fearful about stuff, what happens is we take those emotions on as sensitive kids, because there are people that are more sensitive than others. So really sensitive kids take that stuff on very strongly, and we carry it. We don't realize we're carrying other people's energy, but we are carrying other people's energy quite a lot generally. And so that sets us up for the future, and we end up taking on a lot of other people's energy too, which just weighs us down. And a lot of spiritual people get very tired very quickly, and want to try and, they're the ones, the empaths. I've been there, don't worry. They're the ones that don't want to go into shopping centres and be around other people. And it's because they take on other people's energy very, very strongly. So I've kind of talked to a few people over this last couple of weeks about this that have wanted to book in and maybe get some help. And one of the things we need to remember as someone that maybe we feel there's something going on, we don't know what it is that's holding us back from life, is it's really difficult to be objective and to be able to clean that stuff up yourself. It's almost impossible. Whenever I need to get help, whenever I'm going through a bit of stuff, I've got someone that I see, because when you're in that emotional area, sometimes you're not objective enough to be able to cleanly clear all of that. So this is where you have to actually surrender and trust someone to help you to go through that process, who's experienced with it, and but it's really important to remember that we can't do it all ourselves. And if you think you can, I'm sorry, but you're kind of kidding yourself, because we all need help. Everyone needs to get help at some point. Generally, if you're trying to do it all yourself, it's exactly that word, what trying means. It's kind of not doing, really. You may be able to release some things, but the deeper part of it, and what I'm talking about, the deeper part, is that projected energy that's actually not ours. That's the hardest stuff to clear out. That's where you need to get a bit of help. And look, when you go through that stuff and you clear it out, it just opens you up so much more. If you could see someone's aura when they clear a real big pocket or a bubble of emotional energy that they've been carrying for a long time, the aura just zings. It's just beautiful when you see that happen. And I can only go by experience. Sarah, hey Sarah. Oh, that makes sense. When I can't ground or penetrate my chakras, that's how I know I have to heal past trauma. Yep. So into the forest I go. And thanks for that, Sarah, because this is what I do a lot. Because I've been doing this for so long, I know the triggers. I know my energy really well, and I know when there's something that I can deal with, but stuff that I can't deal with. So quite often, a good thing to do is to go into the forest, because what the forest does is it's a great place to become more aware, because when you go into the forest, it's a very grounding experience, and it helps you to at least see, even if you can't clear the stuff out there, it helps you to see what's going on a little bit clearer. And then you've got something to work with. And you may be able to deal with that yourself, but you may not be able to. And this is what I mean about then it's time to trust someone to help you through it. Tracy's saying, so we were talking about this today, to have two dials, ours and others. Turn yours up and theirs down, so as not to take on so much of other people's energy at times. Well, interestingly enough, Tracy, the more grounded you are, you don't take that energy on of other people. And it's actually a process. Everything we do, if you want to grow, it comes back to the base chakra energy. So the stronger your base chakra energy, the more stable your whole energy system is. And this is the classic thing, like I was saying before. A lot of people go out and buy the right books, and there's nothing wrong with books. I'm not saying burn your books, but sometimes they get reliant on a book to help them to open up spiritually. It can help trigger things and help, but when you work on the base chakra a lot, which is all about old energy, old emotional energy that we carry, when you work on that a lot, then what happens is all of the chakra system going right up through to the crown becomes stronger and more stabilized. But while the base chakra is, there's uncertainty, there's anxiety and fears there, because that's where they sit within our energy system, then your psychic abilities are only going to be so high, so good. So work on base chakra, which is about getting help to deal with that old energy, and then the whole energy system opens up, and your abilities are there much stronger. So, and I think that's all the questions. That's cool. Thanks, guys, for all those great questions. I was just going to quickly run through some of the workshops that are coming up. So we've got a free talk. So people in Adelaide, there's a free talk that I'm going to be giving down at a new shop called Infinite Flow at Christie's Beach. Friday night, this Friday night. I'm doing a level 4 practitioner course this weekend and next weekend. Again, for those in Adelaide, meditation in the teepee. Our teepee is up at Riverdale Spiritual Centre on the 18th, the night of the 18th of May, the 25th of May, and the 1st of June. So we get the fire raging in there, and it's a great place to be. And I run everyone through a meditation. We've got a drumming circle in the teepee on June 11th. That's an evening. And we've got level 1 shamanism at Infinite Flow on 12th and 13th of June. And we've got level 1 shamanism at Riverdale on July 31st and 1st of August. And we've got a spirit guide talk at Riverdale on August 20. And we might leave it at that because it just goes on and on. And Lee Bremier, hi, she's all the way from Illinois, USA. Good to see you on board. So we're just finishing, but this is recorded, so you can come back to Greenwood Spiritual Journeys, Matthew Greenwood Spiritual Journeys, and look at it again. Christina's here. She's saying, I must be doing something right with your grounding process, as they commented as my energy was coming in strong and grounding. Fantastic. And thanks, Sarah. So Sarah's back in again. I started my journey with Matthew in October last year because I couldn't cry. One session releasing trapped trauma did more for me than years of a psychologist. I now practice grounding daily. I highly recommend a session with Matthew. Thanks, Sarah. And I've seen you online too, Sarah. You're doing great things. And this helps people to grow. It really helps people to open up and connect with who they're really meant to be here, and their spiritual reason for being here. And I think that's it. So look, thanks for joining in tonight, and thanks for being a part of the night. Great questions. And next Wednesday night, we'll be talking about galactic beings, and I'll be giving you a lot of channeled information, and look forward to seeing you guys then. Have a very safe weekend, a great weekend, and we'll talk soon. Stay safe, guys. See ya.